Hey babes, my name is Tori and this is the Horror Babe Podcast, episode 8. And we are doing our final movie from the year of 1896. So this one is another French silent trick film directed by Méliès, The Vanishing Lady. In French, and I'm going to butcher it as always, so my apologies. Escamotage d'une dame chez Robert-Houdin, which translates to magical disappearance of a lady at the theater Robert-Houdin. This one is, again, directed by and starring Méliès, and it also stars Jehanne. Released in 1896 with a runtime of approximately 75 seconds. So, I was able to find this on YouTube. And I actually ended up watching 2 different versions of it. So I watched the original black and white silent version of it, but then they also have a color version as well, which I'll get into after. But the synopsis for this one. A magician walks onto a stage and brings out his assistant. He spreads a newspaper on the floor, thus demonstrating that no trapdoor is hidden there, and places a chair on top of it. He has his assistant sit in the chair and spreads a shawl over her. When he removes the shawl, she has disappeared. He then waves his arms in the air and conjures up a skeleton. He places the shawl over the skeleton and removes it to reveal his assistant alive and well. So apparently, he got the idea of using the substitution splice from The Execution of Mary Stuart, which was the first movie that we did. And yeah, I can see it. But so the first trick was making the assistant disappear from the chair, which you can clearly see. And obviously, again, I know I always say this, it was the 1800s. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. But, so again, the first trick of removing his assistant from the chair, you can tell. Sure. But when the skeleton appears, that one is done very, very well. That one is done very, very well. And then covering the skeleton back up with a shawl and then having the assistant reappear again. Obviously, that one is not done as well as the skeleton one, but hey, it worked. They did what they set out to do. This film, again, like his other one, was shot outdoors in his garden on a platform decorated with theatrical scenery. And it's based on a famous stage illusion by Bautier de Colta, in which a woman disappeared by escaping through a hidden trap door. But Méliès was using an editing technique known as the substitution splice. He carried out the trick using cinematic special effects rather than conventional stage machinery. The substitution splice also allowed Méliès to add new material to the end of the trick, inventing the appearance and transformation of the skeleton prop in Dulcie's return. This film, notable as Méliès' first known use of cinematic special effects, survives in film archives, and a hand-colored version has also been reconstructed by a Méliès scholar. So apparently, Méliès had claimed that he had invented the technique independently after his camera accidentally became jammed. But it's theorized that he developed the splice after seeing a rudimentary version in The Execution of Mary Stuart. So The Vanishing Lady is the first known use of the effect for magical as opposed to practical purposes. And the substitution splice became the most fundamental special effect in some of Méliès' work. The Vanishing Lady was released by Méliès' Star Film Company and is numbered 70 in its catalogs. And those surviving prints of the film are in black and white. Hand-colored prints of Méliès' films were also sold. The Méliès expert Jacques Maltais reconstructed a hand-colored version of the film in 1979 using authentic materials. And apparently it was digitized into 4K resolution in 2017. Now, I did not dig around for that, but I think it's really fascinating going all the way back to over a century ago, well over a century ago, and seeing what these people's minds were thinking, what they came up with, and how they pulled it off. And it's so fascinating. The history behind it is so fascinating, and how they got these things to work. And I think that's one of my favorite things about doing this podcast right now is learning the history of all of this. So I'm really hoping that you guys are enjoying this thus far, because we are now moving into the rest of the 1800s, I believe, and then hopefully soon the 1900s. I didn't realize how many horror movies people were coming up with back then, but I am all for it. But thank you so far for listening. Let's go to the next one.